one independent animator built one of the most viral series on the internet. It began as an absurd meme and evolved into something unexpectedly cinematic. But just as it hit its peak, the creator appeared to be no longer in control. That series is Skibidi Toilet, and whether you love it or hate it, it became something far bigger than anyone expected. But now, it's crashing and burning. And the reason is baffling. Out of nowhere, a company announced he was no longer acting as writer, director, animator, or, well, anything he was before. Fans were cautiously optimistic about his new producer role, but then came the breaking point. Emergence, a release so awful that most instantly saw it as proof something had gone terribly wrong. The community fractured almost overnight, screaming for the creator's return. And behind this shift was a company that, until now, had stayed largely invisible. They eventually released a statement after 2 months of silence, but as leaked DMs reveal a creator who felt paranoid and scammed, the company dismisses the claims, insisting that their partnership is healthy while continuing to prioritize merch. With journalist interviews finally on the horizon, let's get into exactly why everyone is so upset. At the center of it all is Invisible Narratives, the company that promised to Skibidi Toilet Hollywood, but they have flushed it away. Oh dear. Let's make the invisible visible. Yo guys, Plunger here. Before we figure out how it broke, let's remember how it was built. Skibidi Toilet first appeared on February 7th, 2023 on the channel Dafuqbomm, ran by Alexei Gerasimov, a source filmmaker animator creating videos since 2012. The video was a mere 12-second post, combining various jokes from the time, but quickly caught the attention of interested and confused viewers. Alexei, sensing the hype, continued to create more, soon shifting the focus away from absurdity toward forming a narrative, drawing from his various inspirations. Reoccurring characters, connected plot threads, huge robots, faction clashes, escalating tech, secrets, and cinematic battles, becoming a sci-fi epic, a war of aliens versus machines. The confused onlookers were gradually replaced with an invested audience, genuinely looking forward to each next episode. Channels popped up analyzing the hidden details Alexei would sneak into his episodes, and the teasers he would reveal to build hype. Skibidi episodes continued to grow in length and scope, and thus, also in development time. But the quality spoke for itself, and he had done it all on his own. His animation, his story, on his channel. Skibidi Toilet, against all odds, was truly a juggernaut. In October 2023, at the peak of Skibidi Toilet's virality, the series creator Alexei partnered with Invisible Narratives, a Hollywood-backed media company focusing on internet IPs, publicly boasting names like Michael Bay. Alexei had already begun talking to Michael Bay months prior, and as a big fan of Transformers, this was a big deal. Internet IPs, publicly boasting names like Michael Bay. Alexei had already begun talking to Michael Bay. Alexei partnered with Invisible Narratives, a Hollywood-backed media company focusing on internet IPs, publicly boasting names like Michael Bay. Alexei had already begun talking to Michael Bay months prior, and as a big fan of Transformers, this was a big deal. Invis were there to scale the Skibidi Toilet IP, to handle the business side of things, and likely protect against attacks he was receiving at the time. Being an international creator, having a strong arm in the US would certainly have been helpful. This arrangement involved Invisible Narratives, obtaining full ownership of the IP from Alexei, and the relationship seemed perfect for 2 years. Alexei kept making episodes himself. A Michael Bay movie was rumored to be in production, and Invis released questionable quality merch, but also fun collabs, and legally protected the brand from attackers. In April 2025, Alexei completed Skibidi Toilet episode 78, the video with the longest development time so far. Around 3 months, a little fan impatience was apparent. But regardless, it received high acclaim and praise for its improved cinematic visuals and atmosphere. And for an animation produced in an archaic game engine, he was truly pushing boundaries. Things were great. Up until a certain point. In October, Skibidi Toilet fans began to sense something was off. The later parts of the most recent episode, Skibidi Toilet 79, had an abnormal drop in quality. Alexei originally promised 79 would be in one part like the successful 78, but then this decision suddenly reversed. Parts 1 and 2 were great. However, once Part 3 released, fans noticed inconsistencies. Extreme visual and pacing problems, far below normal standards. Sound design was off. There were random cuts in places intended to be smooth, invisible transitions. You see, every prior episode of Skibidi Toilet established a one-take POV style, driven by the main faction having cameras for heads, filming everything they see. so a random poorly edited cut stands out, and certain sections were rendered in a lower frame rate. People believed this would be fixed in the full episode compilation. However, the full episode was worse. It was uploaded in 1080p instead of 4K, and added additional issues to Part 1 with new glitches, missing effects, and even lower frame rate. Stranger yet, the full version added a heavy noise layer and broken timing to transitions that were previously clean. It almost seems deliberately sabotaged. This drop in quality directly contradicts Alexi's track record. Even with a massive workload, he historically went back to polish and remaster old episodes for full and season uploads. This constant drive to remaster past episodes showcases a creator who was deeply invested and fully energized by his craft. Fans were confused. Was he trolling the impatient audience? Were they genuine mistakes? While it wasn't a huge cause for concern just yet, unfortunately, what at this point just seemed like a strange anomaly would soon spiral completely out of control. Around this time, Boom's old channel Door Closer, previously used as Boom's Russian channel, began releasing 2 shorts, titled Incomplete. These shorts had a melancholic tone, featuring the default appearance of popular Skibidi characters, sad and nostalgic about the series, as if it didn't exist anymore. This further piqued fans' curiosity and suspicion. Was this Alexei himself, signaling the end? Well, fans wouldn't be left wondering for too long. Shortly after the release of episode 79, the Dafuqbomm channel, now operated by Invis, along with many of Boom's other previous socials, released a statement about his new role as executive producer. Described how he had stepped down from the hands-on work, implying exhaustion from the animation process, speaking positively on Invis' understanding of and ability to continue the franchise, and his apparent desire to try new things bigger and beyond YouTube, and that he will instead be managing a team under him. Presented as Boom's own words, though written in Invis' Skibidi branding font, it's all framed as Alexei's choice purely due to exhaustion. However, as you'll see, fans have a lot of counter-evidence to the contrary. But this announcement marked an immediate change. Almost right away, the channel rolled out a new side series called Emergence. A release so bad that Alexei himself liked a tweet criticizing how it ruined one of his characters. Imagine watching your own show get taken over by a team whose work suggests they'd never even seen the original, and it felt the same for fans. Abhorrent. But 2 issues stand out in particular. One for your eyes, one for your brain. First, clarity. Nothing insane, just basic visual competence. Skibidi Toilet is known for its well-choreographed large-scale action, but here, it's all hard to follow. The camera stays way too zoomed in, so you can't read what's happening. Actions snap from one to the other with very little transition, and even simple actions get animated so frantically that they stop feeling real. In contrast, Alexei always knew to carefully draw focus and deliberately slow down movements for the viewer. His camera was always wide, and he ensured that even action at a macro scale was readable. And not even once do we see who we are as the POV character, which Boom was always careful to show. Second, story logic. This guy is called the Secret Agent. In the main show, he's a mysterious, enigmatic human with hacking powers, hiding in the shadows, with unknown motives. Bro literally hacks and kills a fan-favorite character because he saw too much. Yet here, he's just broadcasting himself like it's YouTube in 2005, just blasting his message out for the enemy to see, for no reason. It's a moment that exists because the script wants it, even though the main series already shows he can communicate directly, in secret, and these issues are rampant. In fact, here's everything wrong with it. Overall, it completely ruins everything great about Alexei's original series, all while claiming to be canon. And in response, creators have made hours of analysis diving into the misunderstanding of and total disconnect from the source material. The weirdest part? This was the first thing Alexei was supposedly executive producing, yet his influence was non-existent. This release and their subsequent actions were universally despised, and instantly put the original statement into question. While at first, fans just wanted to point out the mistakes and had hope that they could be corrected, still believing Alexei was at the helm, and that this was just an anomaly. After a complete lack of response from Invis, strange behavior from Alexei himself, and after piecing together disparate hints, people soon became more suspicious that the issue was deeper, motivated, and more systemic. We'll get into specifics soon, but essentially fans deducted that the shift behind the scenes might be more extreme and less amicable than the company had tried to present. In response to these troubling concerns, an enormous protest began throughout the fandom. Bring Boom back. The movement demands the return of Alexei's creative authority over his own universe, and it's everywhere. You can't find a post from Invis without this message spammed top to bottom. There's a petition, a Discord, and multiple videos about this, despite months of silence from Alexei and reluctance to correct the fandom's fears, in fact only hinting that they are correct. Invis continues to maintain that Alexei is fine, leading fans to accuse the company of gaslighting the audience while actively suppressing Alexei's voice. Early on, their comments to the biggest Skibidi toilet creators in a group meeting on Discord only spiked worries about their competency and priorities, and everything since has only compounded the situation. But no direct word from Invis. Only when the situation began to break into the mainstream did they even bother to provide comment to news outlets. In this article, they include an excerpt from Alexei himself, which was entirely written off by the community as a PR team quote, not his honest thoughts. As we go, I invite you to compare this to how Invisible Narratives writes and to how Alexei actually writes. In the end, their first message directly to the community would come 2 months after emergence.